Hey, Wild fans. Joe O'Donnell joining you once again. And glad to be joined by Wild forward Nico Sturm, who is part of Minnesota's training camp and the return to play program, the protocol with getting the NHL back up and running here in 2020. Nico, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, Joe. How about yourself?
Doing great. Thank you for asking. You are currently in Blaine, Minnesota. You're lucky enough not to have to be in a hotel room because you're able to live at your girlfriend's house. So that's got to be nice. How has camp been treating you so far?
Good. I think we're 10 days in now. Correct me if I'm wrong. Roughly 10 days in. Um, like last week at the start, especially, it's hard getting into, doing harder skates again 3-4 days in a row, something that you're not used to, obviously, in the middle of July. And especially after that long break where, a lot of the guys didn't have time to touch the ice every day. It's hard to get back into a rhythm, but you can tell by the end of last week and, by now, it's for me pretty much you can't notice a heck of a lot of difference, compared to like a normal main camp. I mean, the intensity is pretty good, and I think guys are ready to rock.
How about the atmosphere, the energy, what you're hearing from players about just sort of what's obviously a very new situation for everybody involved?
Yeah, I mean, everybody was curious, how this was all going to go down. I mean, none of us, came into camp and were like, yeah, I'm 100% sure this is going to work and super confident about, all of this. But I got to say it, the whole procedures with the COVID testing in the mornings and wearing the masks and there's, hand sanitizers everywhere and we get our packed lunch. It's really, the NHL and I can only speak for the Wild, but that probably worked in conjunction is they've really done a good job of, working out a way to work around, the whole COVID situation and just, people always talk about the new normal and it really does feel like, it really becomes normal to just wear a mask and being respectful and mindful of others when they're around you. And hockey-wise, the energy is really good. I think Coach really has the group going and excited. I think this is as good as an opportunity as any time you could get because, we got the full healthy roster pretty much. And, everybody's a playing field really because, all teams start out at the same spot, really. Nobody has an advantage. Nobody got to skate longer or shorter than the other team.
Right.
So, and so for us, this is, I think, a great opportunity. And Coach keeps reemphasizing that we have a chance to, really make a run here. And I think, just being in the room with the guys and on the ice, I sense that they really believe that it's possible that we can really make a good run here.
How much have you skated with what I would consider, or most people would consider, sort of the main group? How much have you been more with sort of the Iowa guys? And what has that been like?
Yeah, it's different, of course, because, when we skate with the Iowa group, we only have, I think it's probably 6 skaters and 2 goalies with Capo and Robbie out there, obviously. And, Coach Army obviously likes to, he has to introduce the stuff that we do with the A group. He has to introduce that to us too, because we got to be able to, jump in at any time and replicate their systems if we get a shot to play. So I've gotten a chance to do probably about 70% of the skates with the A group, and then I did a couple of skates with the Iowa group as well. And those are obviously harder because you just don't have the numbers out there, and we basically do the same practice. So even though, it might be a little bit harder, I would say, even when we skate with the Iowa guys and it's just us, the energy is group. I mean, Joe, as we had a really tight-knit group last year, and the guys kind of just bond over that too. If that hardship, over trying to make the roster, and every one of us is trying to grab a spot, obviously, but we're not kind of playing against each other. It does feel a lot more like, we're supporting each other and kind of we're in this together. So it's been a good experience on both ends, regardless of where the group either group you're skating with.
Before you came back to Minnesota, I know you got to spend some time back in your native country of Germany. How was the time back there? Were you in Augsburg?
Yeah, I was back home in Augsburg. That's right. I left Iowa pretty much. I think I stayed there a week in Des Moines after the Grand Rapids game. At that point, nobody really knew, how fast we're going to get back to it. And, there was maybe thought that it's just going to be a week or two break. Turns out it was going to be a little bit longer than that. But I came here, I pretty much packed a U-Haul with all my stuff, moved out of my apartment within like a day or two, came here to Blaine, and I stayed here until first week of April. And then it just kept going on for longer and longer. At that point, it was kind of clear that, there was no resumption of play, at least in the AHL. So at least for a long time. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go home now, because if there's a chance that the NHL is picking back up, there's also a good chance that, I'm going to be here. So I didn't want to miss the opportunity to go back home this summer. And 2 months has been the longest I've been home, and probably since I came here to the U.S., that's been the longest consecutive stretch of time that I've been home. And it's just always awesome to just hang out at home and be around family. And soccer was actually on because the Bundesliga, resumed their play. So yeah. I usually don't get to watch soccer throughout the year because I'm busy. And then once I come back home, the league's done because they kind of don't play in the summer for whatever reason. So that was nice. And I had access to a full gym back home and kind of have a gym at home in my parents' house. You have a large backyard too, so I had access to full facilities pretty much, and I was able to train right at the hop. So really, I had 2 awesome months at home, and I felt recovered and fit coming here.
If I was coming to visit in Germany, where would you recommend that I go? What should I do? Or if any of our fans are ever making a trip there, what would you tell them they have to do?
Yeah, I'm obviously pretty biased because I'm from the south, so I'm a Bavarian citizen, so to say. So if my girlfriend was there, spent a couple of days or 2 weeks, something like that, last summer, and we stayed pretty local. I like Munich. It's about 45 minutes from where I live, and then if you go there, you can pretty much there's always those. I think when Americans think of Germans, they think of the beer tents and guys wearing funny costumes and that kind of stuff. And if you wanna see that, I think that's the place to go. And there's just really good food. A lot of stuff that you guys just don't know. It's just really local kitchen. But she loved it there, and I want to bring her back as soon as the whole situation with coronavirus makes it possible. So I would say stay down south, stay in Munich. There's a lot of just stuff to see too, as from a tourist point of view. So if you ever go there, I would say come to Munich.
2-part question for you: how much do you feel you grew as a player and a person this year in your rookie professional season? And then what advice would you have for the guys that are going to join the organization, or any team for that matter, and be turning pro?
Yeah, for sure. There's a difference between college hockey and pro hockey, and the AHL in particular. And I actually talked to one of the guys that I played college hockey with, who's going to turn pro soon. And he asked me kind of the same question, and I said, from a hockey perspective, in the AHL, there's it's a little faster and a little more physical, but the biggest difference or the biggest challenges that lie ahead come with the difference in schedule. You don't have that Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday practice schedule anymore, and then you play Friday night, you play Saturday night, and you have Sunday off. It was week after week was the same in college, and now all of a sudden, Tuesday morning, the school game at home, and then you might play a Thursday night game in Grand Rapids where you have to take the bus 8 hours, and you play 3 or 4 times a week. And so you have less stress because you don't have that school factor, although I did take online classes, but if you just a pro hockey player, you don't have that stress factor. But you have to put a whole lot more emphasis on how to recover, how to eat properly, how to sleep, because you don't have that coordinated schedule that you have in college hockey. So I always say they'll be fine hockey-wise. Obviously there's an adaptation period. It took me 8 to 10 games to just little knacks. The speed is a little bit different. Sometimes there's even more time and space, and guys are just, the D-men make less mistakes, all that kind of stuff. But you get used to that pretty quickly. But the biggest difference is kind of just the lifestyle too, especially in the AHL. Travel is very hard, as you know. And then, I obviously got lucky enough to spend about a month up with Minnesota as well. And that's where the big difference in hockey. Then it's just every player is so good, and there's such a little margin for mistakes that players are just going to capitalize on. And I'm actually really thankful that I get to be here in the summer now too, because I'm obviously trying to make a big push for a roster spot for next year as well. And every day that I get to spend here around the guys in Minnesota and the coaching staff and the trainers and whatnot makes me feel more comfortable to see myself as an NHL player and to become an NHL player. And so I'm just excited to be here.
What's your favorite sports movie of all time?
Favorite sports movies, probably growing up. Obviously, you're a hockey kid. You like the Mighty Ducks movies. Although hockey is nothing like what they show in the movies. There's no flying V. At least I've never seen it. I obviously like those movies. And then Happy Gilmore is a classic. Really, but the Mighty Ducks movies were kind of the ones that you watched when you had road trips with, youth teams, and somebody would toss in a movie. It'd always be Mighty Ducks, at least back home.
How about your favorite German athlete?
Favorite German athlete is Oliver Kahn, who is a soccer goalie, or was a soccer goalie. He's retired now and works in management for Bayern Munich. So he's probably still considered the best, or at least one of the best goalies to ever play the game. And there's a couple of good documentaries on him, and I read his book as well. And I can identify a lot with him. He always had that underdog mentality. He was never kind of a star growing up. He just kind of worked his way up, and he had that energy on the field, and just never gave up. Really, his dream. And I think the World Cup 2002 was kind of where he peaked, where he was. I think he got the best MVP of the tournament. If you get a chance to watch a couple of clips on him, just how he acted on the field too is like, he wanted to be the guy, that the game revolves around him, and was in control. And it's a tie game, and he gives up a goal in the 92nd minute, and the whole rest of the team is like, oh, this game's over, and they let their heads hang, and he picks up the ball out of his own net and fires up his teammates. It's not over. Like, we still got this. And they ended up, it was 2001, they actually ended up tying the game and winning the championship. Those are just, some character trademarks from his book too, that I admire him a lot. And I obviously grew up watching him, and he's retired now in management, but he was an awesome guy to follow for me as a kid, even though he wasn't even a hockey player. Just a lot that I could learn from him.
Well, good luck in the trip up to Edmonton and with the Minnesota Wild in the hub city up there in the 2020 Stanley Cup playoffs. I know it's an exciting time for you in your career. And as you know, I always enjoy talking to you. Appreciate your honesty. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Joe. Shout out to all the Wild fans, too. I hope to see you guys soon.
That's Wild center Nico Sturm. Good luck in the 2020 Stanley Cup playoffs in Minnesota Wild. As always, Wild fans, stay safe, keep it real. We'll talk to you next week with another Wild player on FaceTime.